and democracy. The CNN exclusive this morning coming from a new whistleblower report. I'm John Berman. Brianna is off. CNN Chief White House correspondent Caitlin Collins with me this morning with some big news.
This is major news, and it's fascinating to see how Elon Musk is now responding to all of this.
That's right. We do have a new response that says national security, media, business implications, and it's all about alleged security vulnerabilities and recklessness. The disclosure obtained by CNN and also the Washington Post comes from Twitter's former head of security. Peter Zatko's claims were sent last month to Congress and several federal agencies.
In this 200-page disclosure, Zatko portrays a chaotic environment at a mismanaged company that allows too many staffers access to central controls and sensitive information without adequate oversight. Zatko also alleges that some of the company's senior-most executives have tried to cover up Twitter's vulnerabilities. CNN's Donnie O'Sullivan is here with the exclusive details. And Donnie, what exactly are we seeing? What are the main headlines out of this disclosure?
That's right, Caitlin. A lot to break down in this. This disclosure is in the hands of multiple U.S. law enforcement agencies, including the SEC and Department of Justice. And today, Zatko is speaking out for the first time to CNN. Have a look.
1, 2, mic check. 1, 2. About to start soon.
Ready?
Yes.
Why are you coming forward?
All of my life, I've been about finding places where I can go and make a difference.
This is Peter Zatko. Until January of this year, he was head of security at Twitter, but now he's a whistleblower. And he says Twitter's security problems are so grave, they are a risk to national security and democracy.
I think Twitter is a critical resource to the entire world. I think it's an extremely important platform.
He's handed over information about the company to U.S. law enforcement agencies, including the SEC, FTC, and the Department of Justice.
May I ask your name in the middle?
I'm Mudge.
Zatko is better known in the hacking world by his nickname Mudge. He's been a renowned cybersecurity expert for decades.
His roots are in hacking, figuring out how computers and software work.
That expertise might be why Jack Dorsey, then CEO of Twitter, hired Zatko after the company was hit by a massive attack.
Top 5 or 6 executives at the company.
Zatko is represented by John Tai, who founded Whistleblower Aid, the same group that represented Facebook whistleblower Frances Haugen.
We are in touch with the law enforcement agencies. They're taking this seriously.
Twitter is pushing back, saying Zatko is peddling a narrative about our privacy and data security practices that is riddled with inconsistencies and inaccuracies and lacks important context. When we spoke to Zatko and his lawyer, they said that the lawful whistleblower disclosure process only allows them to talk about these issues in general terms. For specific allegations about Twitter,
1, 2, 1, 2.
Zatko's disclosure.
I'm not going to go into details, but
This stuff is nonsense. I'm just using it as B-roll to get ready to do a sound check. I was doing some stuff and I looked up at the clock and I was like, whoa, it's 1 minute. 1 minute to when I'm supposed to go live. I'm like, man, am I going to do what young Nick Fuentes, he's late for his lives every day. But no, I made it. Somewhat. I'm hyped up. I'm pretty hyped up about this one. Some don't smell right. Something's not right. And this CNN, this is garbage right here. No surprising. But, CNN's not always garbage. I'm not going to say it's garbage just because it's CNN. It's garbage because I started looking down and going down the rabbit hole. That's basically what you could call this channel. Some news breaks, and I'd start going down the rabbit hole. And I share what I've got with you. That's basically the channel. And Nathaniel, thank you. Nathaniel Erskine says, nice hoodie. MAGA versus the machine. Word. I do have it in the merch store. The MAGA came out more orange than I had planned. Because when I looked at it, it looked more red MAGA. But I don't know if I'm going to change it or not, because the way I'm using MAGA might not be exactly the same way other people use it. I'm literally just using it as the term populist. Not even populist right, just populist in general. Thanks for stopping by. Dan Plamick says, Twitter's reply is essentially a non-statement. Yes. Gemini 7, totally sub. Thank you. Thank you for giving the channel a chance. I'm just a guy in my basement sharing thoughts. I kind of feel like we would just be on the couch watching TV or whatever, just talking. I don't drink much, but, having a brew or something like that. I'm really amped up for this one. There's a lot to go through. I want to start with, who is this Peter Mudge? Who is this dude? Zatko. I don't know. I'm not any expert in him. I just started doing research, and this is what I found. So I'm just sharing that. I am not any expert in him. I do see enough here that I am going to call him a phony, and I will get to making my case towards that. This is not a real whistleblower, in my opinion. Not even close. So I'm going to tell you who he is. A real whistleblower doesn't go to Congress, doesn't go to regulators. A real whistleblower, like you've seen many times, you've seen Assange, you've seen people go to Project Veritas, other places, they go to the people because they got nowhere else to go. This is a fake whistleblower. Ain't buying it. Not even close. I've got enough for me to confidently say that, and I'm not one to just say stuff just to say it. Who is this dude? Well, this dude actually worked for DARPA. Well, he was a hacker, and they want his skills. Of course, for national defense, for the security of this country. Anything that they want to hide or secure or keep away from people is for the security of the country. He participated in the development of the Cyber Fast Track, a scheme intended to quicken the government's procurement of independent cyber researchers. He was in deep with the government. They thought he was one of the number one hackers out there. And obviously, you want talent with you, not with your enemy. So he was in there deep with the government from the beginning. This is well before Twitter or anything else. Fun fact, before we get into some of the other details, this dude was a serious, not just like some scrub. Listen to this guitar playing. This is serious stuff right here. Impressive. I never learned guitar. I played violin, piano growing up, haven't played recently, so I'm a scrub at both, and viola. So I don't know guitar. I know music in general. That's some badass guitar playing. I mean, I'm blown away by looking at that. So this is just a fun fact that's from the details of that video say early 1990s. At Berklee College of Music for a fundraiser event benefiting the Boston Pine Street Inn homeless shelter. Talented dude. Let's go on a little bit more. He spoke about 8 years ago at DEF CON 21. And he talked about the relationship with the government that he had. And he talked about some of the legislation. I'm going to tell a little story, and it ties into why I don't think he's real anymore.
So we're clear?
Maybe he could have been real at one point, but I don't think he is now. And if he were real, this might be the moment where he was a real person. Hopefully this makes sense. I'll add context to it. So I'm starting a speech. He's doing a DEFCON 21 right in the middle.
Value in the community is based upon how much you contribute to that community. And that's one of the reasons why I was really happy that, because I know a lot of people are like, why the hell did Mudge go over and go to the DOD? He was one of us, now he's one of them.
So that's exactly where I wanted to start it off. He's speaking to a group of hackers, or the hacker community, basically, and he's already working, at this moment, working for the government. We don't know when he is on the clock or off the clock working for the government. Nobody knows. He claimed when he started the speech that he was off the clock, but how do I know that? But if he was for real, it was back then here.
We do awesome stuff, but we can't tell you anything about it. Trust us. You know, you with the mohawk, if you shaved your hair, if you put on a suit, maybe even a uniform, stop smoking dope, you could come work for us. And
this is the whistleblower, the one that came out, that dropped this bombshell. I just want to tell you who he is if you're just joining.
Actually do something with your life. And it's like, that's how I interpreted it. Now, that might not be the message. It might just be a, look, we need help and we're trying to reach out to you. But it's just a take sort of message. What can you do for us today? What can you do for us now? And, to me it was offensive. What would it be like if you had a senior official from a very technical agency come out and actually give a technical talk? Because this is a meritocracy. That's where this community came from. And a meritocracy is your value in the community is based upon how much you contribute to that community. And that's one of the reasons why I was really happy that, because I know a lot of people are like, why the hell did Mudge go over and go to the DOD? He was one of us, now he's one of them. And I had spent 15, 20 years contributing to this community, and I wasn't about to stop. And when I was there, I was able to actually fight for this community and try and make sure that the interactions were a little bit better and that we were treated and engaged with normally. And those 10, 15 years of contribution gave me enough grace period, to build trust up again on both sides. And you've got to do that, and you do that by interacting with people. So the value of somebody in one of those agencies coming and giving a technical talk wouldn't be that you learn something really cool about how SE Linux was actually done and why it was done. Or
he's going to get to a legislation piece in just a second, then I'm going to tell the story, finish the story, because I saw this video just trying to find out who he is. And it's a long video. I'm glad I was able to get something from it. And this story, it's exactly what I wanted. I just wanted to know, who is he? It's going to get there.
What the internal battles were to get it across. It wouldn't be that somebody's going through the technical components of one of the patents, one of the numerous patents that are out there, let's say IP geolocation, the ones that we've read about. It would actually be that they're engaging us and interacting with us in our own language and treating us as peers and starting a dialogue. So, I think I will give the Barnaby one after this, but I'm going to summarize this one here. Am I telling us, am I pleading that we should not challenge the government? Absolutely not. I think challenging the government is your patriotic duty as a citizen. I think
listen to that. He said, challenging the government is your patriotic duty as a citizen. This is 2013.
It's very important to do. It's painful for both sides, but it's something that has to happen, and it's why we're such a great nation. We also need to, you can't train a dog just by repeatedly beating it. It'll learn some stuff, but it'll probably learn stuff that you weren't intending, and it'll bite you at some point. So when you see the dog do something good, it's nice to give it a treat. And there are certain little pockets inside the government. And one of the things that I think that we as a community can do better is, yes, we need to challenge the stuff that we're seeing. We need to challenge the things that are in the news. But if you see a small pocket of hope, like if you see a congresswoman that's helping put through Aaron's Law, changing things like CFAA,
So he's emotional if you're just listening, not watching.
I don't
He's
deal with losing people well. Excuse me.
And he said, I don't deal with losing people well. And I'm like, what is he talking about? So I go and look it up. He's talking about the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, CFAA. So he's talking about if a government official, this was 2013 when he was speaking, if a government official is open to kind of repealing or reforming this act was very bad for those in the hacker community. It allowed for government overreach. So the government could basically almost trump up any charge on these hackers to get them to go to their side. We're going to imprison you for 6 months, or you could work for DARPA. There's not much of a choice. So that's the act. Then I'm like, who's Aaron? Well, this is more of the CFAA. Some of it makes sense. A lot of it makes sense, as most government things do. It's not all stupid, but underneath it, it gets abused. All it said is it was defining, because this is when the internet was really in the early stages. We're talking about 86 here. It just defined the criminal sanctions against breaching data, banking data, hacking, basically. It was very broad, though. Accessing any computer protected by a password, any type of little thing could have been charged by the feds. In 2018, Aaron Swartz, and I believe Aaron Swartz was involved in the starting up of Reddit. Aaron Swartz is who he was talking about with Aaron's Law. The reason why he broke up is because of Aaron. In 2008, Aaron did some hacking, basically, and hacked into the federal court system. In this system, you needed a subscription and to pay 8 cents per page for these public court records. The technology was outdated, and Swartz, among others, found the fee ludicrous for electronic data that could be endlessly duplicated at no real cost. So I don't know what the relationship was with Mudge and Aaron. It sounds like they were friends, or he was just, whatever the relationship was, he's sad about what happened. So Aaron was doing this hacking. The FBI got involved, and they let him off. They didn't do anything. Then he hacked again at MIT, setting up a laptop in a closet. So this massive dump, he was taking this dump of data. He was targeting this digitalized academic journal article system. This time, the feds went hard on him. And the feds said, we're going to give you 6 months. Plead guilty and serve 6 months in prison. Aaron unlived himself. And that's why Mudge, the hacker, was broken up in that speech. So I'm looking at it, and I'm like, okay, you talked about challenging the government. You talked about government overreach. Your own friend or someone you respected, I don't know the exact relationship, made you cry when you talked about them unliving themselves, basically, because of this government overreach. So when I go through the article talking about this whistleblower, I'm just wondering what's happening. Twitter in general is a psyop. It's a government-led psyop by ex-intelligence officers, riddled all throughout the organization. It's just another branch of the government. It is just part of the administrative state. That's all it is. So a real whistleblower against that would be on the run like Julian Assange. They wouldn't be doing interviews with CNN. CNN is tied in with the government. They would have to go to Project Veritas or something like that. They would have to do their own type of WikiLeaks. If you're a real whistleblower, going against a government-ran, basically with ex-government officials of the highest intelligence in our country, and I mean that by like spying intelligence and investigative intelligence, you'd be fearing for your life. You wouldn't be going to the regulators. You're going to the regulators with information, in my opinion, they already know. Some don't smell right. It stinks to high heaven. This supposed Twitter whistleblower, Mudge, is represented by the same group, Whistleblower Aid, that represented, wait for it, the whistleblower that many openly agree is completely fake, Frances Haugen. What was the point of a fake whistleblower? To come out and give the government excuse to crack down harder on social media. So when you look at what's happening in this deal, you've got Elon Musk, you've got Twitter, and you've got the government. And then private equity firms. Those are the four big things tied in. The private equity firms are tied into the government. Twitter tied into the government, but the government's got to flex to make sure to control them. I think Elon Musk is out of that equation. Elon Musk is tied into the government because of SpaceX, and then I don't know about Neuralink, but it definitely would be a national security issue. So from SpaceX, I know for a fact he's tied into the DOD. But when it comes to this Twitter deal, he's persona non grata. So it's a three-way tug of war. Twitter, government, they have a closer relationship. They're pretty close. But there's always going to be beef, just like the State Department and, different, Homeland Security. They're going to have beef, but they're in the same club. Twitter, the government, tug of war, Elon Musk. Elon Musk wants out of the deal, and the more I'm reading about it, the more I think that Tim Pool, he's the first one I heard it from, that said, I wonder if there's national security stuff behind the scenes where even if Elon were to buy Twitter, they wouldn't let him get the algorithm. Twitter is worthless if he buys it and he can't control the algorithm. I'm just saying hypothetically. Or if he buys it and there's so many restrictions from national security on it, it's like, what's the point? I can't control the narrative. That's why he's buying it. So he can control the narrative through, I think, free speech. So Elon Musk wants out of the deal at this point. So in comes this fake whistleblower, Mudge. At a convenient time. As I said, he was represented by the same nonprofit law firm, Whistleblower Aid, as Frances Haugen. This is the same Frances Haugen that was involved in censoring the laptop from hell, who all of a sudden became a whistleblower, arguing for more government control and less transparency from social media companies. And she never really got tested on censoring the laptop from hell. You would think if you're going to have a whistleblower come out against Facebook, you would want to talk about that. Like that, you would think that would be like a big point of contention. With this whistleblower, he was fired I've seen January. The official Twitter response is more than 6 months ago. I've seen articles that say that Mudge was fired in January. Elon Musk started buying shares in January. Didn't come out the closet till April, but who knows what. The timing works out perfectly. This guy, if you look at it, this is where it tied into his story about Aaron, where I'm like, this ain't adding up right. This really rubbed me the wrong way when I saw this. Pull up the CNN article. I saw a virtue signal. January 6th came up. After the January 6th insurrection, Seko was concerned about the possibility someone in Twitter who sympathized with the insurrectionists could try to manipulate the company's platform according to his disclosure. He sought to clamp down on internal access that allows Twitter engineers to make changes to the platform known as the production environment. Are we getting towards the algorithm, Zatko? And what the hell does January 6th have to do with anything? Does that sound like a whistleblower to you? Does that sound like the same dude who just said, well, we should challenge our government? Does that sound like the same dude the person he respected, Aaron Swartz, unlived himself because the government hemmed him up? The FBI, big in the news right now for overstepping their boundaries. FBI hemmed up his boy, said, we got you on the CFAA. It's a very broad interpretation. You're going to do 6 months in jail. Then Aaron unlived himself. And Mudge is crying about that in 2013. But now he's like, I'm a little concerned about the possibility someone in Twitter who sympathized with the insurrectionists. You mean the me-moms and the random dudes that ran up in the Capitol? Insurrection with what? He's a logical thinker. He's a hacker. He's not stupid. He came out with a narrative that fits exactly with corporate Republicans, corporate Democrats, so he can come out and play that role. This is fake. This is not real. Elon Musk, I don't know what his role is on this, and I have to admit that I think he knows this. I mean, how could he not? I think he's just happy to get out of the deal. And I think this deal is just going to fizzle away very quickly. You got Elon. Twitter doesn't want to sell to Elon. Let me go on to my next topic and kind of paint that picture. Twitter does not want to sell to Elon Musk. As soon as I saw this story this morning, I was like, whoa, groundbreaking story. Elon Musk has called their bluff, and now it's almost time for the U.S. government to show their hand. In my opinion, Twitter is a part of the administrative state. So Elon Musk attempting to buy Twitter is forcing the government, in my opinion, to release a fake whistleblower to end the deal. So I think Elon will be able to get out of the deal. He's not going to have to pay the $1 billion. For him, actually, that's not really that. I mean, it's $1 billion, but he'll be okay if he had to pay it anyway. But he'll be out of the deal. He won't have to pay the $1 billion. It's going to fizzle out. So they found the right one, or the right way. I don't know. I don't think Elon Musk found it. I think someone else did. So when you look at this, the disclosure that he said, I have not seen the disclosure. I don't think it's out there. I've seen the cover letter. The cover letter is basically him just running to the regulators. But this article talked about what's in the disclosure. I have not read the disclosure myself. I don't know if it's out there or not. I haven't even seen that. The disclosure sent last month to Congress in July, and federal agency paints a picture of a chaotic and reckless environment at a mismanaged company that allows too many of its staff access to the platform's central controls and most sensitive information without adequate oversight. So the answer that I would expect to hear from a real whistleblower is this company needs to be more transparent. The algorithm needs to be public. It needs to be a public utility. So we can see, literally, we can see the code and see what's going on because it's so important. No, that's not what he's doing. He's running to the government, a guy that used to work for the Defense Department. How do you know he's not? I said earlier, how do you know when they're on the clock and when they're not on the clock? How do we know he's still not on the clock for the Defense Department? Running to Congress. The Defense Department is the executive branch. So you've got this fake whistleblower running to the legislative branch to manipulate them. That is a possibility. I think it's a very strong possibility. He's not acting like a whistleblower. The whistleblower would be more, here, power to the people. And you do what you do with it after that. And I've got to go run and hide because people are pissed off at me. It also alleges that some of the company's senior-most executives have been trying to cover up Twitter's serious vulnerabilities, and that one or more current employees may be working for a foreign intelligence service. None of that is really groundbreaking or a surprise, though. It's groundbreaking that we've got somebody claiming that out in the open who just worked for Twitter a few months ago. So it's groundbreaking story, don't get me wrong. But what he's breaking there is, is that really groundbreaking? We covered the former Twitter employee that was convicted in the Saudi spy case a while back. We've already known that for a fact from former Twitter employees. He's saying that there's current. Okay, here's where I'm at. Yeah, there's a lot of current spies working or allegedly working for Twitter. I had to go off a little bit on a tangent, and if I hear one more idiot like Sam Harris call Twitter a private company, I might lose my mind and get banned off of all these social media platforms. It's so asinine to be making an argument that Twitter is like a bakery on the corner. It's like a lemonade stand. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I said Twitter is a weird amalgamation of the executive branch and administrative state. It is the government. This is the same group that decided to ban a prior president. This is the same group that raided a prior POTUS, an upcoming candidate. This is the same people that were behind J6, the Whitmer entrapment, and then we saw convictions today. It's the same group. And who's in that group? So this is the group that doesn't know there's foreign spies working for Twitter. This is the group that you're trying to convince me that Twitter, what I'm getting at is, it's all nonsense. It's just something to throw out there to the legislative branch, so the legislative branch cracks down on Twitter. Get Elon out of the way, and you crack down on Twitter and all the other social media companies. They're laying the groundwork for that to happen. In 2019, Don Burton, former director of Washington operations for Lockheed Martin, was poached from her job as senior innovation advisor to the director at the FBI to become senior director strategy and operations for legal, public policy, trust, and safety at Twitter. So now I'm going to go off on a tangent on how many people used to work for the deep state that worked for Twitter. And this is not an exhaustive list. It's just the ones that are named. Karen Walsh went from 21 years at the FBI to become director of corporate resilience at Twitter. And good friend of show, look who came up. Jim Baker, of course. Jim Baker is the FBI agent who, in my opinion, lied and said, everyone knows Michael Sussman is the lawyer for Hillary Clinton and the DNC. He comes to Jim Baker with this information about Alpha Bank. And Jim Baker, the former FBI, was with Twitter. I think he left, but went from FBI to Twitter. Is trying to tell you and me that he didn't know that Michael Sussman was working for the DNC and Hillary Clinton when he gave him that information. So now we're tying in the FBI, and then you tie in Hillary Clinton's ties to the FBI. Sussman was like in deep with Twitter. Remember that we talked about he was working with Jim Baker, and he's like, oh, you need an org chart in Twitter? Michael Sussman, the lawyer for Hillary Clinton and the DNC, was like, oh, Jim, I know you're going to Twitter. And he was just kind of like name dropping and showing off how much he knew about the inside workings of Twitter. And it's like, oh, you need an org chart? Who has an inside org chart of Twitter? The DNC lawyer does. This is you don't think they know if a spy is working at Twitter? Get the hell out of here. These are the receipts that they're showing. They're going through like LinkedIn. Mark Jaworski ended his 21-year posting. They put some time, too, in the Bureau and the CIA. As a supervisory special agent in the Bay Area to take up a position at Twitter, rising to become Director of Corporate Security and Risk. Douglas Turner spent 14 years as a senior special agent and SWAT team leader before being recruited to serve at Twitter's corporate and executive security services. What barbershop has former 21-year veterans of the FBI joining them to cut hair? It's just another department. It's like the department, we're retiring, so we're going to go to Twitter. I expect they have a job for us. Turner also spent 7 years as a Secret Service agent with the Department of Homeland Security. Many former FBI officials hold influential roles within Twitter. For instance, in 2020, Matthew W., they don't know the full and last name because for whatever, just to be secure, they don't put that on LinkedIn, left a 15-year career as an intelligence program manager at the FBI to take up the post of Senior Director of Product Trust at Twitter. Patrick G., a 23-year FBI, they're not just getting randos. These are like 23, 15, 14 years. Supervisory special agent, now head of corporate security. And Twitter's Director of Inside Risk and Security Investigations, Bruce A., was headhunted from his role of supervisory special agent at the Bureau. There's 3 of them so far. His resume notes that at the FBI, he held various intelligence and law enforcement roles in the U.S., Africa, Europe, and the Middle East, and was a human intelligence and counterintelligence regional specialist. Meanwhile, between 2007 and 2021, Jeff Carlton built up a distinguished career in the United States Marine Corps, rising to become a senior intelligence analyst. He worked both for the CIA and the FBI. This is just, it's like a retirement home for the FBI and CIA agents. They're career guys, like embedded with the deep state. How many of these people do you think are MAGA? This is Twitter. These are the leaders at Twitter for security and all these. So with all these people riddled throughout them, I'm not done yet. All these people riddled throughout them. You want me to believe that the security issues that you might have seen were just some accident? I'm a whistleblower. Look, I found some security issues. There's FBI and CIA people all throughout there. They could come and dox me like this right now if they happen to come on the video, or do worse. And they don't know that a random engineer could get into the algorithm. That's by design. They don't know that a foreign spy is working for them at Twitter. That's what I'm supposed to believe. This is almost as dumb as the Jim Baker's take with Michael Sussman that he said under oath. This might be more stupid than that. It makes no sense. Carlton described his role. I'm not done with Jeff Carlton. He authored dozens of official reports, some of which were read by President Barack Obama, who we know is savage. He does not play. Carlton describes his role as a problem solver and claims to have worked in many dynamic, high-pressure environments such as Iraq and Korea. In May, he left official service to become a senior program manager at Twitter, responsible for dealing with the company's highest profile trust and safety escalations. You're trying to tell me that Jeff Carlton didn't know what was going on? Do you think I'm stupid? Other former FBI, and it's not just him, other former FBI staff, Sherelle Y. as policy domain specialist, Laura D. as senior analyst at Global Risk Intelligence. That's not a private company. It's an op. It's a psyop. I mean, it's obvious. it's a psyop and you hire some of these indoctrinated woke young people, pay them $100K, they work 3 days a week, and it's a wrap. That's what it is. That's all it is. There's more. I'm going to have to stop at that point. I mean, I think we get it. There's more in this article, and that's obviously not an exhaustive list. And it's not just Twitter. Oh, there's one about NATO. Let me show you the NATO one. So the FBI is far from the only state security agency filling Twitter's ranks. Shortly after leaving a 10-year career as a CIA analyst, Michael Scott Robinson was hired to become senior policy manager for site integrity, trust, and safety. The California-based app has also recruited heavily from the Atlantic Council, a NATO cutout organization that serves as the military alliance's think tank. The council is sponsored by NATO, led by senior NATO generals, and regularly plays out regime change scenarios in enemy states such as China. The Atlantic Council. So they're just picking them all off. They fit right within the global agenda. So when I say it's a psyop, what it is I go on Twitter and I'm like, let me try to reach people, or for me, it's really more getting my thoughts out there, but just say I wanted to reach people, maximize that. Because obviously that's not what it is for me. I'm a bad marketer, so that's part of it too. But just say I was a good marketer. I'm trying to go out there and I'm trying to reach people to talk about topics like this. Twitter's designed to keep me in my ghetto, my own echo chamber. I read that thread before by someone who just put out this hypothetical, and I think this is the case. I think this is why the algorithm can't be public. And this, I'm going to read this. It's very short. I'm going to go through this again. Dr. Ivor, this is a dope little mini thread here. Here's what Twitter's up to. The algorithm is creating ghettos of undesirables. Kind of like deplorables. Groups of undesirable tweeters and their followers form a graph. And when he says graph, he means as in like a cutout. Like you have Twitter is this big circle and you cut like 1/1,000,000th off of it, and now you're in that graph. In other words, a ghetto. This graph is cleaved off, the Twitter graph, so you think you're on Twitter. No, you're not on Twitter. They should rebrand it and give you a little name. You're in the hood. You've got abandoned homes all around you. You've got people using drugs and needles. You're not reaching anybody. This is just his hypothetical. There's no tangible proof here. But you got CIA all over it. This would fit perfectly. So it's actually a hub to be a magnet to keep people with ideas that they don't want to get out, actually siphon in, so you're in a big circle irk and you're not reaching anybody. Because that's the battle, is to reach common people. Interaction inside the ghetto seems normal. You don't see flags, you don't see warnings. You only see tweets from other people in the ghetto. This prevents you from immediately detecting that something's off. However, the world outside the ghetto, also known as the rest of Twitter, either does not see tweets from inside the ghetto at all, deboosting, or sees warning on tweets that are allowed out. And how do we not know that YouTube's not the same or Facebook's not the same? There are many ghettos. You may reside in one or more ghetto. So I might be in the vaccine skeptic ghetto. I might be in the January 6th ghetto. I might be in the gender denial ghetto. I didn't know I could be in like 20 different ghettos at the same time. I'm in the Black Lives Matter hate ghetto. Most users live in the Twitter graph, while small numbers of problematic users are put in a ghetto. You know you've been put in a ghetto when your likes drop off, follower increase plateaus, and interactions seem to drop off. A tweet that used to get 10K likes now gets 700. But they can't ghettoize endlessly because doing so would eventually pull the entire Twitter graph. Likes, retweets from followers of followers can break out of the ghetto. If you're reading this, you're very likely inside my ghetto. So what happened is Elon Musk made a move to try and buy Twitter. And then behind the scenes, they had to scam. They were, kind of like, what we got to do? And I think they lifted the veil on the ghettos for a second. They put them back on, but they lifted it. And everybody, all these people that were banned, the redheaded libertarian, who's a great follower, she had 2 accounts, and then all of a sudden her other account popped up, and we're like, we haven't seen that in a long time. And she's like, it just reactivated. Funny. It was right around the time Elon Musk was making noise about purchasing it. And she wasn't the only one. There was a bunch of people who just kind of popped up out of nowhere. And then people started joining back. I don't know that for sure. This is allegedly, but that's what it feels like. And I just riddled off who's running the show. That's what the CIA is there for, to control the flow of information and intelligence. So that would make perfect sense. I mean, I would think that's what would be happening. So that's Twitter. You see all the people I talked about that went from one part to another part. Jim Baker, former FBI, CIA, everywhere. And you mean to tell me they couldn't get rid of the bots if they wanted to? Of course they could. Why would they admit the bots now? Because Elon Musk was asking about it. And that's what's going to end the deal. And that's what they want anyway, is to end the deal. So Elon Musk will bow out. Twitter will have some financial issues here because Twitter's going to be, because Elon's bowing out. And now we know that the bots, it sounds like the bots are what Elon thought they were. It sounds like Elon was more right than they were. Well, they knew about it, but than what they said. So that's going to hurt their stock value. They don't care. Twitter's not there to be a good company. Why do you think Getter has a far better video platform than Twitter already? Getter is actually trying to be a good app. That's why. Twitter has Twitter Spaces, but it's surprising that they don't have any good video. There's video on there. I think I'm streaming this on Twitter right now, but it's just not a good experience. Now, normal people can't, you have to be a big account to stream live on Getter, but they do have like a TikTok thing on Getter that's actually pretty good. It's a lot of prawn on there, but it's decent experience. Twitter doesn't even have that. They tried to do that whack stories and stopped it. So in the court of public opinion, I think Elon's going to get an out here. But what we are learning is, with all those ex-government people in on Twitter, there was never a chance. I was actually probably right when I said there's a 0% chance they're going to sell to Elon. Do you think they're going to allow Elon Musk to have control to hire and fire ex-FBI and CIA agents? Like long-time agents. And control them? No. Allegedly, nobody knows who has access to what. This is what he said. People could try to manipulate the company's platform, according to his disclosure. So I talked about this. Twitter engineers, so it could allow Twitter engineers to make changes, and I believe he said something like 7,000 people had access. They don't even have to log in. It was impossible to protect the production environment. I think that's a fancy way for him to say the algorithm. I'm not 100% sure. He said all engineers had access. There was no logging of who went into the environment or what they did. So remember, this is right after he talked about J6. So this whistleblower is not talking about, well, this algorithm should be public so it's fair for everyone. He's saying the algorithm should be protected because you might have insurrectionists, or that's literally what he said. People who sympathize with insurrectionists could have access. That's not a whistleblower. That's somebody who wants to eliminate MAGA from the equation. Why would you even bring up J6? Anyone, if all these engineers had access, a pedo could have access. Anyone who you don't want to have, why would you bring up J6? He wants it locked down. He wants to tell the government, lock it down so you don't have maybe a Trump supporter gets hired. He's actually talking about that. That goes against Elon Musk. So re-look at that statement again. You bring up J6. Do you think somebody who calls J6 an insurrection, Zatko, this whistleblower, do you think they're pro Elon Musk? So this isn't a pro Elon Musk whistleblower. And I think Elon Musk knows that. He has to know that. This is an anti-Elon Musk whistleblower, in my opinion. Worried about the government not being able to control the algorithm. Allegedly. What a mess. So friend of Shore, Will Cormier, I got to get him back on, said, still reading this thread, but I find the pipeline from U.S. intelligence, mostly FBI, CIA, and NSA, to big tech and mainstream media extremely alarming. I haven't even talked about mainstream media because it's a little bit off topic, but he's absolutely right. Go put on CNN, any of the channels. It's ex-CIA, ex-FBI. They're the experts on there. These are not who you want controlling narratives, and they've got every level of news information dissemination locked up. That's my thoughts on that. Let me know what you think. I had to get that off my chest. Mike Hartman, friend of the show, it's like a movie, and he will be the villain in the second sequel. Wow. Ray Studios. Oh, that's a dope thumbnail, man. I like your profile picture. That's dope. Ray says Elon is like the Liver King to me. I have a love-hate thing with him. I'm for Elon. I don't think any of this speaks badly of Elon. If I had to guess, I do think he knows this is a fake whistleblower, but all he cares about is getting out of the deal. The deal's a mess. The government's involved. National security's involved. It's just too much of a mess. Jerkle Cirque. That's right. Ray Studio says, what makes you think Twitter created the algorithm themselves? The elites made it. Yeah, I don't know. Man, this algorithm is so mysterious. Look, who controls the algorithm? Who created the algorithm? The government did, I think. These ex-CIA, ex-people came in. I don't know how it started. I'd love to hear Jack. We don't talk about the algorithm enough. This is a whistleblower, and he says production environment. Why doesn't he talk about the algorithm? I think that's his fancy way of saying algorithm. I don't know who created it. Undesirable tweeters. What's up, Lisa? Friend of the show. Yeah. Undesirable to the message. So that's what I had on the Elon Musk. I do have other stuff. I do have a lot of other stuff on the mind. I really was only planning on doing the Elon Musk stuff, but I'm still getting into Twitter conversations, and I need help from y'all. I need help from y'all about this. How do we proceed? And a lot of it's coming under Matt Walsh, because Matt Walsh is great. I mean, don't get me wrong. But there's some graphic pictures here just as a warning. Just as a warning, graphic pictures, and what this is of the mutilation of children in regards to gender affirming care. So we're looking at gender affirming care, and it's tough. These are tough pictures. Warning, these are tough pictures to see. I'm not going to enlarge them. Am I sharing? No, I'm not even sharing. I'm going to share my screen. Maybe I shouldn't be sharing. But I'm going to get into the topic of gender affirming care because this is important. There are many different things that are causing us to fracture. This one is probably the number one right now. It's the same as critical theory. It's critical gender theory. But yes, warning, these are graphic. I'm not going to enlarge them any bigger than this. So somebody tweeted, Douglas MacArthur tweeted, this is what they're doing to kids. So the divide we have in our country is some people think this is love and some people think this is evil. That's a pretty big divide. Matt Walsh says, it's not often in history that the line between good and evil is so clearly drawn. And if I had to choose a side, I would choose his side on this. I don't want to choose a side. I said, Matt is great, but this is the fork in the road where we part ways. It doesn't mean I won't listen to Matt. I'm not saying I part ways from Matt permanently. He has a choice to make. And he's not going down the route of liberty. He's going down the route of we need more federal power to let the other people know who are doing the mutilation that it's evil. And I don't agree with that. I know it may seem evil to you and I, but I have to respect somebody else who thinks it's not. Period. I don't get to decide what's evil or not. I do that for me, and then I share society with people who have a basic agreement on what's evil or what's not. I say, Matt, you might think they are evil, but they think you are evil. Same thing. No one is right or wrong. It's a matter of moral opinion. So I know people will say, well, yeah, Matt is right. Okay. In your world, in their world, they're right. And there is no way to undo that. In some ways, this is more ingrained, in my opinion, than even slavery. You can't have, there is no war that is, and I don't want that. Obviously, I am only for peace. There was a war that ended slavery. There is no war that can happen to change someone's mind from that mutilation being good. That's not going to happen. There's no weapon, there's nothing that won't fix the problem. So that's the path where Matt is going, and it's not even going to fix the problem. There's no need to argue about it at this point. I know Matt is doing awareness as well, so you want to reach people who don't know what's going on so they can kind of side with you, because there's a lot of people in the chat here who are like, I don't really rock with Matt, but I agree with him here. So he's reaching people outside of his echo chamber, outside of his ghetto. He's not really in a ghetto. Daily Wire is, they're not in ghettos. Let's just say that. And they're an establishment platform. They're not MAGA. There's no need to argue about it. All that's left at this point is to find a peaceful way forward. So I say that, and look at the ratio. So I say that, I get ratioed 48, well, some of those are mine, but 48 comments and only 9 likes. The significance of that is I couldn't give a damn about a ratio. But the significance is that Matt and those under Matt, if you don't agree with my statement, even if you're in the chat here, you are going down the road of authoritarianism. It's that simple. That is Darth Vader. Darth Vader thought that he was doing good. Anakin Skywalker thought he was doing good. So satisfied yet? Great on Twitter says, I think Matt is taking the right approach. Most people have no idea this is happening, and he's getting the message out. It's appalling, and there is a right or wrong here. I support Matt getting the message out, but for me, what's the purpose of getting the message out? I don't hear Matt talking about respecting them. He's getting the message out to hopefully be able to exert authority over those people. And really, it's only a small percentage of people doing this surgery, and I'll be venture to guess this is a rich people's problem. I don't think you're seeing a lot of poor people get gender affirming care. I don't know the stats, but I'm just guessing. So it's like the Democrat Party's become this affluent. That's why they're so big on the student loans. This become an affluent party, a party for the affluent and the affluent interests. So he's trying to get numbers to do authority. I want to get numbers to show that liberty is the answer. Peace is the answer. Matt's not saying that. That's why I'm parting ways with Matt. Somebody else said, Matt believes in an objective moral standard, and they believe in moral relativism. I agree. Like you seem to embrace. So they're talking about me. So there isn't any compromising here. I never said I agreed with them. Where in my post did I say I agree with them? I said, Matt is great. This is the fork in the road where we part ways. Maybe that's where the confusion is. But I said, you think they're evil. They think you're evil. No one is right or wrong. It's a matter of moral opinion. So that's a whole separate argument than moral relativism. So you have to have a certain group of beliefs within the people that found a nation to agree. So I say, I'm on your side morally. The question I have for you is now what? And the federal government is on their side. This is the biggest issue. This is a huge issue right now. They're not talking about this much at all on the mainstream, other than to take some pot shots at Florida. But this is where I'm seeing at least from the populist right, I'm seeing almost more outrage here than abortion. That's how crazy, that's how big this is. So you see the replies are all very similar. All very similar. Somebody did agree, actually. Someone said, Senior Sidechain said, there's no choice but peace, friend. We have to find a way, as morally repugnant as we may find these doctors' actions. It's doctors and guardians. I don't really put the children in this. We're talking about, so keep in mind, the take from the populist right is you just, as long as you're 18 or older, do what you want to do. It's not anything against any identity. It's just for children, we're not good with that. Meaning, so that's why Matt's not going here. Meaning we can't share a society if you think it's okay for under 18 children to be doing these procedures. 18 or older, go do you. Cameron replied to me and says, I understand the relativistic viewpoint for many issues, not this one. I'm not taking a relativistic viewpoint. That's a whole different. They believe in moral relativism. That's not my take. Just because I say I don't decide what's morally right or wrong, I believe in God. They don't. That doesn't mean I believe in moral relativism. I'm just pointing out to you that we believe in God and they don't. There are certain actions that are objectively evil: slavery, child sacrifices, all those things. And then the mutilation is abuse. It's evil. Juan says you can actually force your beliefs on others. We do that through law all the time. Indeed, that is essentially a prerequisite for society. Yes, we do, but only to a certain extent. Like you talked about, this person talked about all these other things, like if you unlive somebody, We agree as a society you can't do that. Here, you think you're doing child abuse, they think it's love. There is no way to mend that together. So one is off there. Yeah, we do force beliefs on each other because we all agree as a state, a city, society. So you see a lot of these comments. Naim said, people like you, he's talking to me, are the ones who get forgotten in history as just the bystanders who let it happen. So he's kind of like saying, I'm the person in Germany that just let the atrocities happen without saying anything. Nope, that's not true. Not true at all. I'm actually speaking out right now. Speaking out on here too. But I said I will accept the criticism if we can agree that I am trying to push for a peaceful route and Naim is choosing the opposite of peace. That is, he wants to talk about history. That's what history teaches us about this antebellum moment. That's unfortunately the moment before kinetic war. Let me know what you think. Is that just something in my circle, in my echo chamber? I'm hearing a lot about it, though. Lisa says people who mutilate children should be in prison. I agree. And those who don't believe it's mutilation should be in a separate country. That's what I would add to Lisa's statement. So Lisa and I have enough, at least with that issue, and I think with others too, but we have enough where we could share in a society. Even where we disagree, we're not so broken that we can't live together. A wild gadfly says, yes, we can mend this. Stuck in the middle. You need to read the data research and prove that transitioning children is not to prevent, to save them like the deranged parents claim. The opposite is true. They don't view the world in facts. They do not view the world in facts. We saw that in the pandemic. The YouTube doesn't view the world in facts. They said, hey, when you talk about the pandemic, you have to agree with the WHO. You have to agree with the CDC. What if the facts don't agree with them? Then you're done. They don't care about the facts. So that doesn't. So Gadfly, great point. You're based. You and I see the same way, but they don't do facts at all. No facts. Their emotion. So you see, that's part of the reason why we can't do this anymore. It's very clear to me that we have to find a way out. I'll just do a couple more stories and I'll be out. Rayshard Brooks came up recently. And Rayshard Brooks came up because the two police officers are now, I believe, acquitted. Is that what happened? Let me share the story here. Prosecutor is dismissing charges. If you remember the Rayshard Brooks incident, let's relive that real quick. Facts don't care about your feelings, Ray Studios. And you can say feelings don't care about your facts. See, that's it. All roads go back to like, we got to stop. We can't do this anymore. There's always an opposite the other way. Prosecutor to dismiss charges against Atlanta police officers involved in fatal shooting of Rayshard Brooks. I don't know what took so long or what. I mean, we've had the video for a long time. Georgia special prosecutor announced Tuesday that murder and assault charges will be dismissed against two Atlanta police officers involved in the fatal shooting of Rayshard Brooks. This happened in the summer of love when tensions were so hot. Talk about facts and feelings. I looked at the facts of this case and everybody else was looking at the feelings. We have the facts. We've had the facts for a long time. They're still looking at feelings and not facts. They just don't see the world the same way, and it's not being held together anymore. Here's a video I did 2 days after the Grammys, where Lil Baby depicted the Rayshard shooting as a lie. Rayshard Brooks and CBS. Lil Baby and CBS. Here's the depiction of the Rayshard Brooks shooting before Lil Baby's, as the intro to Lil Baby's video.
When I was growing up, I was taught in American history books that Africa had no history, and neither did I. That I was a savage, about whom the less said the better, who had been saved by Europe and brought to America. And of course, I believed it. I didn't have much choice.
We have body cam. So if you're just listening, this is from the Grammys, March 14th, 2021. They depicted the Rayshard Brooks incident as him sleeping in his car, police coming up to him, asking him to come out of the car, and then trying to arrest him. Then they show Rayshard Brooks trying to escape out of the handcuffs, running away, and this white cop shot him in the back. That's how they depicted it. Here's what really happened. We have body cam. We know what happened. What you see there is just a flat out lie. Rayshard Brooks fell asleep in a Wendy's drive-thru. Police came to get him out of there. Brooks took a breathalyzer. He was well above the legal limit, and the police were professional the whole time. They decided to arrest him. I watched the whole video of the body cam. On the body cam, the police were professional. They did nothing even questionable. They were really nice, chit-chatting with the dude. It took a long time. I mean, we're talking about, I forgot how long, like 20, 30 minutes I saw on the body cam. Legal limit, and the police were professional the whole time. They decided to arrest him because he was way above the legal limit. You know, doing their job. Now, there are systemic things that might have led Rayshard Brooks or someone like Rayshard Brooks into these tough moments. That's not the role of the police. The role of the police is to protect us, me, you, your family, me, my family, our loved ones, and fellow citizens from someone making a mistake, a dangerous mistake like Rayshard Brooks. I'm grateful that we have police to do that. Obviously, that message wasn't portrayed during the Grammys. They pull him to the ground, and Rayshard Brooks started fighting with them. Not a little bit of fighting. So they didn't have any of that on the Grammys. The guy is coming up swinging on them. He's literally fighting with the police. They're trying to tase him. The tasers aren't working. They're not able to tase him. They're fighting with them. Not a little bit of fighting. He's struggling, wrestling, throwing punches, and steals a taser from one of the police. He runs away. I just want to do a public service announcement. If you steal a taser from a police officer, rest in peace is going to happen very soon. Then turns around and points the taser back at the closest officer. Because if you point a taser at a police officer and you tase him, he has a weapon on him. You can do whatever you want. If you're fighting with a police officer, the police officer has a weapon on him. You could take the weapon. So if you're fighting with a police officer, rest in peace could happen. Then the closest officer fires 3 times, fatally wounding Rayshard Brooks. I am not saying Rayshard Brooks deserved to die. I'm just saying I deserve the truth. I'm just saying you deserve the truth. I'm just saying that if you want justice, you have to. I did this March 16th of 2021, and I don't want to say I've become more radical, but I think I was more soft then. He did deserve to die, and that doesn't make me happy to say, but he earned what happened. In life, we make decisions. It's sad. I don't want to see that happen. There's a lot of tough things that might have happened in his life, and who knows if I was born under the same circumstances, if the same thing would have happened to me. but I am not going to coddle. I'm not coddling with any of these situations. I said the same thing about Ashley Babbitt. She shouldn't have been there. It was sad, but decisions were made and consequences of those decisions. So I will amend that. Yeah, he earned what happened. To have the truth. I'm just saying, when I talk to my two little boys about things like this, when we're going to have those conversations, it will be with the truth. It won't be with these lies. Why am I watching somebody depicting black people burning down their own community over this? Burning down businesses in their own community over this. So with the lie on the Grammys, then he does a video right after the lie. The video was the intro to the lie. And then after the lie, he's glamorizing throwing a Molotov cocktail at a Burger King, because that was the famous Burger King that in Atlanta that got burned down. I think it was a Burger King. It was at the Burger King where he was at. Man, that's some heavy manipulation right there. So you need to ask questions like, why are people lying to me? If there's a serious situation with serious questions, like the police just roughed up this dude in a separate incident that happened recently. It wasn't a black guy, so nobody's saying anything really. There's still people out here. There's bots. Let me see if this bot is still on here. What happens to these bots? So this is pretty much typically a bot here. Who knows? But to me it does. And the bot says he was just sleeping in his car, for God's sake. Then it said they're guilty. The police are guilty of what? If they go in front of a jury, they'll go to jail like Kim Potter. So I'm just speculating, but I'm like, is that a Chinese bot? Is that a CIA bot? What bot is that? What kind of bot is that? Trying to stoke hate to get Americans to hate each other. You want to talk about misinformation? He was just sleeping in his car. He sounded like he was just sleeping in his car and got shot. Then I don't think these are bots. This person here says, imagine thinking shooting someone in the back who is running away is reasonable. That's not what happened. He fought. He had plenty of time to just take the cuffs. He took a taser. Then you look at this account here. Grab the taser. So this account says he wrestled the taser from attacking cop in self-defense. We saw the video. That's not self-defense, not even close. They said he was harmless, unarmed drunk man asleep in his car. He did offer to walk to his house. Hey, the police did not take him up on that offer. And you would be the same person if he offered to walk back to his house. I don't know what they do with the car, impound it, or I don't know what they do. But he offers to walk back to his house. He does something to somebody else, or steals a car, or gets in a car. Somebody dies. They'd be the first person to say the police messed up. So that's the story of Rayshard Brooks, if people don't know. Let me know what you think. Summer of Love. Ray Studio says the Summer of Love was a prelude to a second civil war. I hope not. I did a whole series about that. We're trending in that direction for sure. I think we can find a different path, but I'm not sure. Black Pegasus, friend of the show, just getting into that book, Irreversible Damage, about kids transitioning. That joint is wild. I have not heard that. I'll have to get into that. Black Pegasus, man, his channel is lit right now, man. If you go click on that name right there and go check out his videos, man, it's just the community. It's all positive. It's dope, man. This is a hip hop artist right here, talented. I like, he was doing the other day, it was last night. He was doing this Dope or Nope, like I think a local artist. I used to do a hip hop show in Dearborn, Michigan, 89.3. We're making waves, where I would bring in a lot of local artists and play their music, whether I thought it was dope or not. I just wanted them to get exposure and let the audience say if it was dope or not. I would do my own sets where I wasn't spinning for real, but I would play my own playlists. But sometimes I let them come in, and whoever wanted to come in, that's what I'm here for. And it felt like that. He had people playing their songs, and then he was providing like real heartfelt, constructive criticism from a guy who knows what he's doing. That channel is just popping, man. One of my favorite channels, Black Pegasus. Check him out. Yeah, I was on with him a while back talking about Joe Rogan. I gotta have you back on. I haven't had you on this channel, so I'll reach out to you, man. I want to talk about what you're doing with your channel. I'm a huge hip hop fan. I haven't listened to a lot of hip hop recently because I'm so knee deep in this political nonsense. But Black Pegasus is doing more culture stuff, way more powerful. Thanks for stopping by, sir. Ray Studios, Osiris, when you and me head to Florida, we should go do some nightclubs. Yeah, I'm an old head though, so I'll go, but my nightclub hopping days are long gone. Yeah, I'll get in touch. Black Pegasus, thank you. Hike Martin, we're in a mix of a lot of different things. I think we have revolutionary tensions, and then we also have civil tensions, and then we have World War III tensions. Other than that, everything's okay. We've got a lot going on in the world right now. So, but earlier I was talking about Elon Musk. I just talked about the Rayshard Brooks. France is launching a climate change police force, y'all. You knew it was probably coming. You knew it was coming, that if you're going to go down this route, how do you enforce it? Naturally, you need a special enforcement unit. France launching this climate change police force. Just like Canada, this was reported by Breitbart as well. They're hiring 3,000 green police officers to go after those who violate green-related criminal issues. Good luck with that one. He said that the climate change police force will be a revolution. We have different definitions of revolution. The announcement comes after the EU crisis management czar, Janis Lakarkic, called for the rapid creation of a Europe-wide civil protection force to enforce climate laws across the EU. What such a force would mean for the sovereignty of member states hardly needs to be mentioned, and the call for an international police force was heavily criticized. Handling these irresponsible and unaccountable bureaucrats even more power would just simply be irresponsible. I think the answer is we're seeing where they're going. They want to do that everywhere. They can't do that exactly the same way here, but they'll find a way. They'll hire about 90,000 IRS agents over 10 years, and there'll be a way. It doesn't matter if it's done through the Department of Education, the IRS, FBI, CIA. They'll find a way to get more enforcement. The only answer is decentralization. Somebody on Twitter just asked me, and they said, how would libertarians handle the problem of big tech getting out of control? Well, I think you would have to have regulations, but forget about that. Government allowed the environment for big tech to form monopolies, and then now they can control the few companies that control 90% of the internet or what industry it is. You've got to get rid of the federal government through the voting process, voting for libertarians. I'm fine with voting for MAGA, Marjorie Taylor Greene types that, for the most part, take power away from the federal government. Not always, though. But most part, you vote for people who will take power away from the federal government and gradually get that power out. When the government is out the way, then states will be able to handle these monopolies. Just like Florida had that social media law to put a check. Right now, it's going up through the Supreme Court in Florida. I don't know where it is, but it's going up through the dockets. But they had the law, Ron DeSantis, about, hey, social media, they can't ban conservatives or whatever. States will, if you get the federal government out of the way, you won't get climate change police. You won't get 90,000 IRS agents. You won't get those problems. You'll get less. You'll get less problems and more decentralization. And that's what that's what I'm all for. Let me know what you think on that one. My goodness. They won't stop. I just got a couple more before I call it a night. Going back to the states, let's check in on how the FBI is doing with all the heat that's on them right now. Bloomberg states, FBI searched data of millions of Americans without warrants. Surge came as Bureau sought to curb wave of hacking attacks. ACLU calls it invasion of privacy on an enormous scale. Wow, the ACLU is involved in a good way, I would say. This is the story from April. The FBI searched emails, texts, and other electronic communications of as many as 3.4 million U.S. residents without a warrant over a year. These queries were made between December 2020 and November 2021. So they're able to go through and, without a warrant, invade the privacy of Americans. Where is Congress? That's executive branch. The only people really that can save that, to stop that, is Congress. The ACLU said it's past time for Congress to step in to protect Americans' Fourth Amendment rights. So the FBI said they use this authority under, wait for it, FISA. Yeesh. Woo! That's caused a lot of problems. And it's, if you don't know, FISA is the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. And it basically allows any type of surveillance. Like, I don't know what the limitations are, honestly, on it. As long as you call it spying, like espionage or terrorism, then you can basically do whatever you want. In Trump's case, they made up information, literally. We know that for a fact. I have one. I'm going to end on this one, which is kind of, I think this is a good note. Who knows? Liz Cheney thought she was going to try to own people by saying, hey, I'm going to run in the general election and I'm going to take votes from Donald Trump. And I'm like, nah, what crossover do you have with Donald Trump? Well, Rich Barris says, like I told Benny Johnson and others, Liz Cheney is far more likely to take voters from Joe Biden than Donald Trump. And that's exactly what even YouGov found, a biased pollster. They even found that in their non-data appended customer panel survey. If Liz Cheney were to run as an independent in 2024, she would take more support from Biden than Trump. Is that really a surprise? She's really in the same club as him. I'm not surprised by it, but I'm surprised that this poll came out so quickly from a corporate-leaning outlet. I wonder if they did that. I wonder if they let this one come out because they were like, I don't know if we want her to do that. Because not only Joe Biden, she would take votes away from any establishment person, some more than others, but so you look at that with Liz Cheney as an independent, Donald Trump comes up on top. How funny would that be? That would be so hilarious. I wish that could happen. It's not going to happen. That is so funny. So Liz Cheney would take away from Bill Kristol Republicans. Yeah, of course. Who have already been voting Dem. Only 10% of Republicans want her to run versus 30% of Dems. She takes nearly double Dems versus Republicans. Wow, Trump carries independents 38% to 18% for Joe Biden. Wow. Trump 20% on independents that's with Liz Cheney in there. That's a huge difference there. I'm a little surprised by that. I didn't know it'd be that big. Some people are saying they see a massive opportunity for DeSantis should he become GOP nominee. I don't know. Trump would have to gracefully get out the way for that to happen. I've already claimed that I'm for DeSantis. I do like the Schedule F stuff. If you don't know, the Schedule F stuff is Schedule F as in fired, to fire the administrative state that right now is very difficult to fire. But I don't think Ron DeSantis won't have a problem firing people. So I'm a Ron DeSantis guy now at this point. And nothing against Trump, but I think it's time. Ron DeSantis is the perfect age. I'm tired of these older people running. Trump, the only reason Trump wants to run again is to get revenge, in my opinion. That's not a good enough reason. Trump's what, 70? Trump's 76 right now. Nah, I'm good, bro. You've had your chance. Be the kingmaker on the sideline. Ron DeSantis is like 43 or something like that. He's right in the wheelhouse for perfect age. I would say 50 is around the perfect age. So he'd be 45. Oh yeah. I think we should go to. I think we should go to Ron. Did you see that Ron DeSantis ad? The Top Gun ad. It's kind of funny. I have the goodbye music on, but let me play it real quick. Ron DeSantis has this Top Gun ad. It's really just about the media, actually. So let me play this clip here. It's very short.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Let me start it over.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is your governor speaking.
Oh my goodness, they stopped it. They didn't want to play it. I'm gonna have to find it now. So that was a media outlet, so they didn't want to. Of course, they don't want to give him more press or anything like that. Let me see if this is the real one. Okay, here we go. Top Gov.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is your governor speaking.
Today's training evolution, dogfighting, taking on the corporate media.
The rules of engagement are as follows. Number 1, don't fire unless fired upon, but when they fire, you fire back with overwhelming force. Does it say that in the bill? I'm asking you to tell me what's in the bill. Number 2, never ever back down from a fight.
If I could complete the question, though.
So you're going to give a speech or ask a question? Number 3, don't accept their narrative. It's wrong. It's a fake narrative. I just disabused you of the narrative, and you don't care about the facts. It's why people don't trust people like you, because you peddle false narratives. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's turn up on.
I think it's a little corny, but I like to see it. But really, Carrie Lake is the queen. Carrie Lake is the queen of dealing the media. Period. There's nobody out here that will who will wreck the media better than Carrie Lake. Empress says this sounds gay. Was it? Yeah. The Trump ad was way better. Yeah, but I mean, it's an ad. I still pick DeSantis. But Ray Studio says if DeSantis runs for president, the possibility of a Dem being elected governor in Florida goes up dramatically. Yes. If DeSantis runs for president, that is true. I don't think it would happen, but yes, it would go up. That's for sure. I think Hike Martin, are you talking about the recent Trump ad after the raid? I think that was a better ad. He released the ad. He released the ad like right after the raid. I thought it was pretty decent. Let me see. I think this is it. Let me see if this is it here. Because it was black and white, wasn't it? He's running if he's not in jail. Trump rolls out campaign ad hours after raid on his home.
Party like never before. We've never seen anything like this.
Yep,
We're a nation that no longer has a free and fair press.
It was a little dark. I will say it was a little dark. I mean, it got lighter as it went on here at the end, but it was a little dark.
Party like never before. We've never seen anything like this. We're a nation that no longer has a free and fair press. Fake news is about all you get. We are a nation where free speech is no longer allowed, where crime is rampant like never before, where the economy has been collapsing, where more people died of COVID in 2021 than in 2020. We're a nation that is allowing Iran to build a massive nuclear weapon and China to use the trillions and trillions of dollars it's taken from the United States to build a military to rival our own. We are a nation that over the past 2 years is no longer respected or listened to all around the world. And we are a nation that is hostile to liberty and freedom and faith. We are a nation whose economy is floundering, whose stores are not stocked, whose deliveries are not coming, and whose educational system is ranked at the bottom of every list. We are a nation that in many ways has become a joke. But soon we will have greatness again. It was hard-working patriots like you who built this country, and it is hard-working patriots like you who are going to save our country. There is no mountain we cannot climb. There is no summit we cannot reach. There is no challenge we cannot meet. There is no victory we cannot have. We will not bend. We will not break. We will not yield. Ever, ever, ever. We will never give in. We will never give up. And we will never, ever back down. We will never let you down. As long as we are confident and united, the tyrants we are fighting do not stand even a little chance. Because we are Americans, and Americans kneel to God and God alone. And it is time to start talking about greatness for our country again.
Yeah, it's not even close. That's a much better ad than the DeSantis one. Joe Biden, your favorite president, Brandon, says that I don't think he said that, but the media says they are expecting Brandon to announce his administration's much anticipated decision on student loan cancellation on Wednesday. NBC News, The Wall Street Journal, and Bloomberg report. Keep it here for the latest. So he's expected at this point to waive $10,000 for people who make less than, let me double check it, less than $125,000, I think. Let me see if this Reuters article has it. Okay, yep. So he's expected to announce plans to Wednesday, today, to forgive as much as $10,000 in student debt for borrowers whose income fall below $125,000. This would be one of the most incendiary. People are arguing that it's unconstitutional. I don't know the full argument on that. It's just wrong to do. Why would you pay off $10,000 of somebody's student loans but not my credit card loans? What if you took out private loans? Some people take out private loans to go to school. Those would not be forgiven. Can you imagine that? If you do the $10,000 now, what about the people in college now? You don't think they're going to want $10,000 too? It's an acknowledgement of Charlie Kirk's book that he just came out with, that college is a scam. They're completely acknowledging this book, College is a Scam by Charlie Kirk. 100%. They're saying that they can't pay off their student debt. College is a scam. That's what Charlie Kirk says, and he is proven accurate by the same people who want to have the loans paid off. This is out of all the issues, including slavery, race, this is the one that is the most baffling to me from the populist left. The populist left is so passionate about having student loans paid off. They're not nearly this passionate about Medicare for all. They're not this passionate about universal basic income, which is actually the answer, in my opinion. Everybody gets money, and if you want to use that on your loans, go ahead and use it on your loans. We can't be picking and choosing debt to pay off, because if universities were more populist right institutions, of course they wouldn't want student loans paid off. If most universities were MAGA, they would be very much against paying off student loans. Those universities are indoctrination camps. They wore the masks. They wore the muzzles. They did what they were told. They were good little soldiers. They didn't rebel. They actually went out and protested in favor of government power. That's what all Black Lives Matter was. And now they're like, I want my loans paid off. That will do. They're just buying off their vote. It's disgusting.
Hi, Charlie. I remember a while back when I first started listening to you, you were talking about you were writing a book about why your kids shouldn't go to college. And
That's right.
I remember thinking, wow, that's really controversial. But now I have been awakened, and I see what the need. And so I'm wondering if you're still working on that.
It's coming out in either August or
It's already out now. This is an old clip.
September. It's called The College Scam, and it's intentionally written. It's written as a 10-count indictment against college, as if I was presenting this to a jury to try to persuade you, because you're right. Most people think college is wonderful. I'll riff on this for just a second. If you follow me, you kind of know this whole kind of deal that I think about for college. College is right for some people. I'd say 5% of the population should go to college. 95% should not. Most people, if you may be a doctor or a lawyer or engineer, most people don't go to college for that reason. Most people go to college to go study the humanities, where they learn to hate themselves, to study sociology, where they learn to hate everybody, or they study some other unspecified thing where they learn to hate the country. And so the culture that's been created on campus is one thing, but let's just talk about the pragmatic sense of it, right? Which is we have a generation of young people that are borrowing money they don't have to study things that don't matter, to find jobs that don't exist. And we act as if this entire cycle works, the cycle of indebtedness. And I'm in the business of hiring young people. A college degree means nothing, absolutely nothing. And I know this might be controversial. Again, you know me well enough to not care and to trust me when I say this, which is if most parents, and this is the controversial part, they don't want to hear this. Most people go to college because their parents are forcing them, right? Even though it's the students that are the ones borrowing the money. And so you say, well, Charlie, what should they do instead? Right, okay, well, first of all, gap years are great. I took a gap year, ended up during a gap decade, okay? We have nowhere near enough entrepreneurs in our country right now, nowhere near enough entrepreneurs. We need more young people to start businesses and take risks. Instead, we're saying go through this secular humanist mill where they have sex week and they have this degenerative culture. I'm not kidding. You think you know what's happening on college campuses. You play Russian roulette with your kid or grandkids' values when you send them to a college campus. You may never see them again. And we have a generation of young people that, they're kind of sick and tired. They're like, look, I went to college, I borrowed the money, I did what I was told, I studied North African lesbian poetry, and my life is not better. And we wonder why this whole system is so messed up. I'll finish with this, and I think this will be applicable, is that we have a war that's been waged on the muscular class in our country. And we treat the people that work with their hands as stupid. You might not, but our society does. We treat them as like the smelly, deplorable Walmart people. You know who I'm talking about. The plumbers, the electricians, the welders, the police officers. You realize that we have a 3 million person deficit in the trades right now in our country? Why? Well, here's the blunt truth. Because a lot of suburban moms and dads didn't want to tell their neighbors that their kid works construction. They'd rather tell their neighbors that their kid is an atheist lesbian that went to University of Missouri and is working as an accountant at Ernst & Young, doesn't share any of their values, but at least they're not working construction. You know it's true, by the way. You know that's a big driving force. And so what are we really doing here? Answer, destroying a generation for a parent's ego. That's wrong. So, anyway, it's right for some people. If every college was like Hillsdale College, my opinion would be different. Colleges are cesspools, very little redeemable value. I visit them. I visit over 150 of them. So, yeah, the book's called The College Scam. Keep an open mind. When it'll be out, we're going to be publicizing it big time, do a whole book tour. But let's just talk about it from a Christian standpoint. More Christian families have lost their children to secular colleges than any other institution. So let's just talk about the future of the kingdom. College has done more damage to American Christianity than anything else we could ever possibly imagine. So that's just a teaser. Thank you.
Ooh, if you want to know why I mess with Charlie Kirk, fire. It's hard to hear an argument against that as you beg for the government to pay off your student loans. Like, that's not the time I want to hear your retort. If you don't want it to happen, if you're actively campaigning against it, then I'll hear you out. But speaking of that, I'm out. Thanks a lot for hanging out. Take care.
In short, we're fed up with inflation and all of the related monetary policies that are threatening to turn the greatest country on earth into a third world failure. We're fed up with the Green New Deal and the socialists who created it. We're fed up with the attacks on our fossil fuel and energy industries, the good-paying jobs that they support, the incredible standard of living that they provide, and the clean and abundant energy that they produce. We're fed up with an open border. We're fed up with human trafficking. We're fed up with fentanyl flooding our country, and we're fed up with illegal immigration. Countries and organizations who believe that we are responsible for protecting the border integrity of every country on earth, but not our own. We're fed up with critical race theory. We're fed up with boys competing in girls' sports. We're fed up with radical